Okay. So, grab the butt connector that we've included in your kit. It's going to be a little blue butt connector. We'll take one end, take the wire, the factory wire, just twist it together. Take the crimp, put it in, squeeze it down. Now take the other end, take the two wires you twisted together, put it inside the butt connector, crimp it down. So we've made our connection. Everything's back in one piece. I just go ahead and take the factory tape and wrap it back around. May even take another little wire tie here. I'm just real funny about wiring connections. Tie it back down, make it nice and clean. Take another little wire tie, and you may even want to wire the wire. I should have done that. I supposed to pay attention. Just go ahead and keep the wire tie following the flow of the BMW harness, just to keep it out of the way and inconspicuous. So we've made all of our input connections, so the only thing left to do is to route our battery cable, the power cable, the large red wire that we sent you, and then make our ground connection. Our ground connection we're going to make right here on this factory ground terminal. It's just a 10mm bolt, so we'll go over that here in just a moment, but let's go ahead and put the car back together up until this point. So to do that, we're going to grab this black piece from the passenger side of the car. I'm just going to just drop right back down into this little housing here, if I can make that happen, like so. And then we're just going to take the 10mm little plastic nuts, thread them back down on the little pieces here. This one's kind of tricky. It's kind of down in there, so you may want to. It's very tricky, especially if you don't do it all the time. So you just kind of want to get it centered on there. Run it back down nice and tight. And remember, this is securing the bottom of our enclosure, so you want to get it nice and snug. And this side of the car is ready to be put back together. Let's go ahead and move on to the battery connections now and mount the amplifier, and we'll be done in no time. Okay, so we now need to make a couple of decisions as far as where we're going to be mounting our amplifier, etc. Most of the cars, in fact almost all of the X5s, are going to not have this factory Bluetooth module installed in this particular location. If your car does, we're going to need to move it. It's not a big deal. We just basically remove two little 10mm bolts. The entire module we can relocate up into this area here. Reason being, we like to put the amplifier right here. And in order to do that, we've got to do a couple of things prior to the install of the amp. And the first one of those things is installing some brackets onto the amplifier that are going to allow us to securely mount this in the car without moving, and again, most importantly, without taking up any space. So to do that, we're going to send you two or three brackets, rather, 2 6-holes and then one, I think this is an 18-hole bracket. And in order to put those on, I'll show you how to do it. Since every car is a little different, we're going to send them to you and have you do it yourself. This is how your amplifier is going to look stock. So all we're going to do is remove the screw. We're going to send you little washers, some little small washers. You're just going to put it over the screw, and you'll take the bracket that we send you on the rearmost bracket and just put it back on tight. We're going to do the same for the, as you can see, it has to be oriented a certain way. So if you're looking at your amplifier, we have the two short brackets on the bottom and the top bracket on the top left of the amplifier. So as you turn it over, this is exactly how you're going to see it. The long bracket goes on the side with the power connections and speaker outputs, and that's how you'll be able to orient the amplifier, because it's only going to fit in one way. So once we've prepared our amplifier, if your car was equipped with the Bluetooth module, we need to just move it. It's very easy. Taking a 10mm, I'm using a nut driver, you may have a socket. Just simply remove these 10mm bolts, nuts rather, use the socket for the lower one. It's a little bit harder to get to. It's so cool because doing it this way, you've got the amplifier completely hidden. You didn't have to sacrifice an inch of space in the truck. So we'll pull the bracket off, the metal bracket, and now the module simply lifts up, and as you can see, there's a lot of room on these cables. So what we do is just take the module, and for the time being we're just going to place it up here out of the way, because momentarily we're going to wire tie it down to this bracket here and keep everything secure. So now that we've got that freed and out of our way, just kind of tuck the harnesses, keep everything looking nice and clean. As you can see, it was kind of, BMW left wires all over the place, so let's clean it up for them. Now we've got this extra depth that we needed, and the amplifier, I'm just going to show you how the amplifier is going to live. We actually have to make a couple of connections before we mount the amplifier permanently, but just to give you an idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this long bracket, we're going to bend it straight up like so, move our little harnesses out of the way, and then the amplifier is just going to drop down in here like this, and then taking one of our bolts that was removed when we took the CD changer out of the car. And if your car didn't have a CD changer, we'll go over that in just a moment. We're going to take this back bracket and go ahead and preliminarily secure it with our fingers. Just go ahead and kind of get it situated. And then we'll take the amplifier, get it placed flush down. We're going to take these rear brackets, and we're going to bend it down like this. And then we're going to take this one and bend it down like so. And we've sent you 2 short screws. This is the frame rail, so there are no wires behind this, there are no fuel lines. It's perfectly safe we're going to have to drill 2 small holes. Again, it's certainly not going to affect anything as far as the vehicle's performance or structure or anything like that. So we're going to get these brackets bent. We're going to run 1 screw through this hole right here into this little metal bracket. This is actually steel. This one may take just a minute to get tapped, but once it taps, it's going to secure nicely. And this one, you can just take in the lowermost hole and zip a screw in. We'll show you that in a moment. I just wanted to show you how the amplifier is going to sit. We won't be reinstalling the floor piece here. The floor panel is going to rest on all this existing panels. Trust me, it's completely secure, otherwise we wouldn't be recommending doing this. So it's just going to remain, when we put the floor back in, it's going to latch into that little piece there. And it doesn't move, it's still perfectly secure. So let's do this now. Let's go ahead and we'll pull the amp back out. We're going to preliminarily make a few connections on the side over here, because once we've installed the amplifier, we can't access these connections on this side. But the good news is all of our adjustments are over here on this side, and we'll be able to get to those very easily. So let's go ahead and pull the amp back out of the car, and we're going to need to make just a few connections before we actually start the process. The first of which is our speaker wire connections. And so to do that, we just take the speaker wire and just strip back, again, about a ½ inch of insulation on either side. And remember, you have to keep your positives and your negatives straight between the enclosure and the amplifier. So if you made the blue wire positive at the enclosure, it needs to remain positive here on the amplifier, and vice versa. So you'll just take your drill, you'll unscrew each little terminal, take your speaker wires, insert them in, run the terminals down. Okay. So we've made our speaker connections. We've got our remote turn-on connection, which we also need to make. Again, I did this little trick with the remote turn-on where I strip back about 1 inch of the wire. I twist it together and then I fold it in half just to make the wire a little bit thicker at the connection point. So I just strip back the wire, put it in there. Make sure that once you actually put it underneath here, that there isn't any copper sticking out anywhere where it could possibly touch the ground terminal and short the amp out, or touch the battery terminal and constantly keep the amplifier on.